In a world shaped by crisis, hope can be more than optimism. It can be a practice. Welcome to the Diaries of the Bertha Accelerator. This series brings together changemakers, advocates, storytellers, and organizers who came together in Istanbul at Postane, hosted in collaboration with Bertha Spaces and Bertha Foundation. Throughout the series, we ask how hope-based communication can help us imagine stories of possibility while staying grounded in reality, and explore how new narratives can be born in the midst of crisis. In this episode, María Paula Murcia from Mutante in Colombia and Pascalinah Kabi from Uncensored News in Lesotho explore how journalists can make their work more accountable to the communities they report on. They reflect on participatory journalism, storytelling as a form of dialogue, and how returning stories to the people they belong to can challenge traditional media practices.
My name is Pascalinah Kabi. I'm an investigative journalist based in Maseru, Lesotho. I am the co-founder of Uncensored News. It's a digital platform that focuses specifically on health and environmental issues because those are neglected subjects in the mainstream media. And we strongly feel that one cannot be able to fully participate in national issues like the economy, politics, if they come from an environment that is damaged. Also, when one comes from an environment that cannot help them live a healthy lifestyle, it affects their health. So I'm also the co-founder of a non-governmental organization that specializes in media literacy on health and environment. So really say shout out to you, María, that I think you are one of the most approachable participants at the Bertha Accelerator. You are able to hold conversations with almost everyone. So I think that is what struck me. Again, when you approached me about the community dialogue type of storytelling, I think we clicked. It was something that you and I have in common. But I think you are better placed to tell us about yourself, who you are, where you come from, and the work that you do in your country.
Thank you, Pascalinah. Well, my name is María Paula Murcia. I am a journalist and anthropologist from Colombia. I was born and raised in Bogota, Colombia's capital city. I'm a co-founder at Mutante, which is an independent media outlet born in 2018. And we work on issues about gender, mental health, environmental crisis, and human rights. And those four are just like very big topics in which we work. And we hold social conversations about issues regarding all of these four topics. And I really want to give you a big shout out because what also struck me about your work is the way in which you have approached communities and the way in which you have engaged them in the work that you do, like being very responsive to their needs and being very thoughtful about how they might react and how they might use your investigation. So that I think that's very unusual to find in journalism, mainly in mainstream media, but even in alternative media, it's also not very usual. So it really struck me out. And that's why I approached and proposed this topic, because I think we do have that in common. The way we have been working around the issue of how to approach communities in the journalism that we do. So we can just hop on that topic and maybe you can tell us about this beautiful experience that you shared on your research about the mines and how you engaged with the communities in that investigation.
Thank you so much, María. So in 2022, I started my fellowship with Bertha Challenge to investigate the impacts of mining operations in my country on the water courses that poor communities depend on. Very quickly, I think it was 9 months into our investigations, I started asking myself tough questions. How are these people, whom I know very well that speaking people, they do not have access to the publication that I was hosted by. They don't even have access, some of them, access to the internet for them to be able to browse and get a sense of the stories that we were writing about them, for them. So I asked myself, how do we engage with them? So we engaged with them through screening we had a short documentary that is in a local language, Lesotho. So we traveled, went back to that particular community. But what was amazing about that engagement was that with Bertha Challenge, I had money. I had resources, something that I think ordinarily on a day-to-day, most journalists do not have access to that. So I didn't just go to do the screening to engage with the people, but I also took around 17 journalists, local journalists, with me. I wanted to do what I think most journalists or the media organizations don't do, is accountability to the people that we write stories about. In most cases, it's take, and then we leave. And some of these people, they never know really what happened to their stories or their codes unless someone picks it and shares it with them. And secondly, I wanted, as I was doing the accountability, accounting to them, for other journalists to witness that. In an event where people wanted to hold me accountable, and we said I also wanted that to come out in the media reports. Secondly, I knew that they may have been stories that I had, so I wanted these other journalists also to pick different stories from different people about the people on the water pollution, and that's what we did. And I was really encouraged that while it may have seen as something that is unusual in my country to go back and account to the people, someone else is doing it far away, miles away from my country. And I would really love you to tell us more about how you do it on a day-to-day basis, because the way I understand it, for you, it's not a once-off event. It's something that is part and parcel of your daily engagements in your career.
Yes, I mean, we do engage on a daily basis with people, and we have regarded our audiences not as just people that receive the information and read it and that's it, but as people that respond, and in that way, they make part of the work that we do. But what I really want to focus on is just a very specific experience that falls within the realm of participatory journalism, which is what we do on a daily basis. But this was different, and why I thought this was going to be a good topic to talk to you about is because it has many similarities to what you just told us. So I wanted to let the people who are listening know that about this kind of approach that we did. So we involved with this research about just energy transition in Colombia. So this is a very big topic, and there is this very far away region that's on the border with Venezuela. And there are indigenous communities living there that have been dispossessed of their lands by companies that have been planting monocrops of eucalyptus and acacia, so that they can then cut out the trees and send them to a plant to be burned, and that way produce energy for the biggest city of this area. And that is all made in the name of energy transition, because biomass, as this very fancy name for a technology that's quite ancient, which is burning wood to produce energy, but in a very sophisticated way. It is considered as a renewable source of energy, so it makes part of the energy transition, although it has a lot of problems. And we wanted to dig deeper into what some of these social problems of these way of producing energy are, because it's not only the environmental problems. Energy transition has a lot of impacts also on the people. So we wanted to look at this very specific consequence of indigenous peoples that owned the lands, but then there were other companies that came and claimed those lands and got ownership of the lands just because they were very desirable enterprises to be there, because they were going to do a very good thing, like environmentally legitimate, which was plant the trees for energy transition. But I do think this falls into the realm of greenwashing, because it's something that's very evil and very violent to the people, and that's legitimated because it's something that's supposedly good for the environment. So we found this story by talking to people that were doing research in this area, and we traveled. And I need to the people to know that this was not only me, it was a team of people that came forward with this interdisciplinary method. So there was a filmmaker, there was a reporter, there were other journalists and other anthropologists. And that first trip, I was not on that trip. So they went, they make the research, they interviewed the people to get to know what was happening, and they came back. And when they came back, they had so much information, and they have found out other issues. They have found out so much about people's lives, and that's usually something that we encounter. We're talking to people about very deep issues, and we are not able to show everything about these issues. So we're taking bits and pieces. And the filmmaker did a small documentary, and the reporter wrote a piece. And we decided it was very important for us to go back and talk to the people about what we have found, and also to hold a conversation about representation of these people. Because these are people that are not usually represented on public media. So we wanted to get to talk to them about how they wanted to be represented, what they thought about the choice that we were making for them about representation. And we have called this approach that we are testing out. I mean, we don't have the answers. It's just an experimental method of something that we're calling journalism that disappropriates, because we think that stories do not belong to us, they belong to the people, and it's the minimum we can do to hold a conversation with them about representation and about how they want to be portrayed.
Yeah.
It's not something about, and we were talking about this, and I would love to know how you were doing this. It's not letting them see the stories before we publish it so they can approve of that, but just like digging deeper. Okay, so this is how I am making an interpretation of your story. What do you think of these? What would you like to see that maybe you're not seeing here? And it's different when it comes to the communities that are not in power, as it's not the same as taking the piece to the institutions, to the people that hold power, and showing them the piece, because they do have a history of being represented. So I want to ask you, what do you find are the differences between these people, and how the accountability and you making yourself accountable to the people that are telling your stories, and taking other journalists with you so that they are also witnesses to this? How do you think all of these elements fall into the discussion?
I think I must clarify that for me, it was post-publication. Okay. It wasn't prior publication. But I do get your point, because some of these people that we go to, they are not really experienced in terms of dealing with the media. It's not just about representation. It's also about the experience. It's also about how you want to build the trust with these individuals, because I am wondering where I'm sitting if I was that grandmother up in the rural areas, or a lady. Would I be comfortable with seeing my story represented in a way that I know this is not how I would have loved it to be, simply because a journalist did not think that I'm worthy enough to be consulted post the interview? I think it's a tricky part, because editors will tell you that it's unethical to show anybody what you have written. But again, if we are trying to progress as the media, if we are trying to take everyone along with us, I think it's something that we need to consider. Because like you were saying before we get in here, that it's not necessarily about approval. I think we should be confident enough in our work that if I have quoted you, I should be able to share that and say, is this what you want? Is this what you meant? Because I think that a lot of trust in the media is lost in the translation, in the interpretation, and that gives us a bad name as the media, that in a long run people end up not trusting us with their stories, because they are afraid that if journalists misrepresented my story, probably you are going to do the same. But at the same time, I think the most challenging part would be for sitting in Colombia from the mainstream, journalists sitting in Lesotho and everywhere in the world who do not have resources to go back. They are asking themselves, how do I now have this participatory journalism or engage my communities when it was even difficult in the first place to go do the interviews? So I think there are those challenges that we need to confront as ourselves and probably offer alternative solutions on how best we can do it in a situation where one is working in an environment where funding is not readily available.
And I do think you're delving into a very relevant topic, and it can be like a very high-ending note, and it's trust. So trust, how do we build trust, and how also we honor trust? Because we talk a lot about trust building. So, okay, how do we build trust? Of course. And building trust is really important. And when we get to have the trust, then how do we honor that trust? And how do we put trust in a very intersectional way and regard it as something that does not always look the same for every source that we encounter? And how honoring trust means different things depending on who you're working with. There are people that don't talk to you because they trust you, but because they have interest. But what about the people that are talking to you because they trust you? They trust on your perspective. And I think this, in the end, it is a conversation about trust and about how we can be better as journalists, but also don't forget that we are human beings in the process, and that we are fostering relationships with the people that are telling us their stories because they see in us opportunities for a better life, for example. So how do we honor that? And we just nourish that trust-based relationship without thinking that, how we were taught in the school, like you should not engage deeper with your sources because they're just sources. We are people and they are people too. So how do we honor trust? And that is a question that I think we should make ourselves more.
I think those are very tough questions that you're asking, but also very important. I also want, besides honoring and gaining trust, because like you rightly said, people speak to us because they trust us and everything. But from where I'm sitting, you are stimulating my mind. How to explain, to make sure that these people, when they speak to us, they know what they are doing. We don't take them along with us so that they are able to make a decision that best suit them, not us. Because I think that some of these people, they speak to us because probably they have too much respect. You are a journalist, you are from the townships up in the mountains, and they think that they are obligated. They think that they don't have a right to say no because we do not give them options that, look, I'm here to get your story, but you have an option to decline if you don't feel comfortable to share your story. So I think we really need to ask ourselves tough questions, particularly in this time where the future of the media is at the crossroads, where people are beginning to trust alternative medias over us. How do we reclaim our position? By giving people options so that when they sit with us and open their hearts about some of the deepest secrets that in some cases they have never shared with other people, they know what they are doing. They are aware of the repercussions. They are aware that some people may come and mock them after. So I think it's a give and take type of situation that we need to build between us and our sources and the people that we think, because we are saying the media, but are we really saving the people, or are we making ourselves look better? I think those are some of the questions that we should confront and in a very honest way ourselves. What are we really hoping to achieve at the end of the day? Because sometimes when you go and investigate, you get what you're looking for, hard evidence. deep down there is that satisfaction. But beyond the satisfaction of a personal satisfaction, we need to look beyond that, I think.
I think this is such a beautiful way to end, and I just want to say that what stuck out from what you just said is how do we have to be aware of the responsibility we have towards the people that we're talking with and that have not had the same social or symbolic capital just to access the same kind of information and resources that we have, and how that makes us responsible for for giving them choice. They need to be able to have the tools to choose. And I think that's just a beautiful thing and a beautiful invitation for every journalist and every people that works in communications, because I do think this transcends journalism, communications, litigation. And well, thank you for this conversation. It was very eye-opening, and I do think this was a great pairing for us to talk.
And for me, I think as we about to end, the take home from this workshop was it was an excellent opportunity to connect with great minds like you and fellow participants. And I think I'm going to Lesotho a changed person. My lenses are different now, that some of the things that I took for granted, I must put an effort intentionally to try and see that I'm part of the change that I want to see in the future.
For me, what I'm taking back is the knowledge that the issues I face and the questions I struggle with every day are not only mine, and that I can navigate them in the company of very wise people such as yourself that all over the world have the same questions and want to see the same change in the world that I want to see. So very glad to have met you, and thank you.
Thank you so much, and respect to you.
Respect to you too. That's great.
This episode was made possible by contributions from the UMI Fund and the Bertha Foundation.